Okay, so picture this. You're the founder of a massive megachurch, and you are just slamming headfirst into the devastating reality of occupational burnout. Today, in this explainer, we're going to unpack the really hidden but incredibly prevalent dynamics of pastoral burnout and misplaced priorities. And we're doing it through the lens of Ian Morgan Cron's brilliant novel, Chasing Francis, A Pilgrim's Tale. Now, this isn't just some deep dive into theology. It's actually a profound look at what happens when the relentless machinery of a modern organization completely crushes the human soul that's just trying to run it.
My faith is gone. I mean, just imagine sitting in the pews on a Sunday morning. The man at the pulpit, the senior pastor, and the literal founder of this massive evangelical New England megachurch looks out at the congregation and says exactly that. It is this shocking, earth-shattering announcement that instantly grabs your attention. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't offer up, a convenient 5-point plan for recovery. He just completely bottoms out, right there in front of everyone on Sunday morning.
Section 1, the pastor's burnout crisis. So this whole catastrophic crisis belongs to a guy named Chase Folsom. And Chase isn't just having a bad day, right? He is experiencing a total systemic collapse. It's a glaring symptom of the unsustainable pressures of modern ministry, where spiritual leadership and corporate management just terrifyingly blur together. His rapid descent basically happens in a domino effect. First, he loses his faith on Sunday. Immediately, the church elders go on the attack because, well, in a highly optimized megachurch, a pastor losing his faith isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a massive organizational liability. So, facing this intense backlash, Chase hustles out of town, fleeing all the way to Florence, Italy. And there, he hunkers down with a group of caring, fun-loving Franciscan friars. And actually, among them is his Uncle Kenny, a guy who left his own conservative Baptist upbringing years earlier to become a Franciscan priest. Section 2, Escaping to Italy and the Franciscan Antidote. Fleeing to Florence, Chase's whole environment radically shifts. He trades the sterile, highly produced, predictable world of his American megachurch for ancient cobblestone streets, flocks of pigeons, and warm cappuccinos. It's this deeply sensory healing process, guided by the unhurried rhythm of the Italian countryside. As he starts to defrost a bit, he notes, gelato is what heaven would taste like if someone froze it and crammed it into a paper cup. It's great because it injects some much-needed lightheartedness into the story, grounding this abstract theological awakening in vivid, relatable sensory details. Spiritual recovery isn't just about reading heavy books. Sometimes it really just starts with experiencing the simple, joyful, tangible tastes of life again. During this recovery, Chase discovers Francis of Assisi, who is often described as the first postmodern Christian. Now, if that phrase sounds a bit academic, it basically just means Francis valued authentic, lived experience and raw spirituality over rigid, institutionalized structures. So Chase, this formerly black and white, highly systemized evangelical pastor, starts studying this 13th century priest's path. Francis kind of becomes his new hero, offering this radical, ancient alternative to the corporate church model that just completely burned Chase out. Francis of Assisi famously said, "It is no use walking anywhere to preach unless our walking is our preaching." This is absolutely crucial. It demands action and embodied living, which completely upends Chase's previously rigid theology. It's not about having the perfect doctrinal statement or delivering the most eloquent sermon. It's about whether your physical steps out there in the real world actually align with the love you claim to possess. Your life literally is the message. Section 3, Exposing Misplaced Priorities. As Chase really studies his new hero, he starts turning a pretty sharp critique toward modern church culture. He specifically targets its growing obsession with entertainment, consumerism, and sheer scale at the expense of real depth. Staring out at old men feeding pigeons, he suddenly sees this stark contrast between ancient simplicity and modern religious institutions. In his journal, he writes that the 21st century church is the only thing in the universe duct tape couldn't fix. He's recognizing the systemic brokenness of the very machine he helped build, realizing that a superficial fix just isn't going to cut it anymore. And this really illustrates a tragic trade-off, swapping ancient sacredness for comfortable aesthetics. Modern worship centers, they strive for hominess. They want straightforward communication, unambiguous messaging, a place that feels like a cozy living room or a highly produced concert hall. But in doing so, they abandon true holiness. Friar Peter notes that St. Augustine believed the human mind is delighted by truth presented indirectly, through symbols, sacred space, and the iconic. By chasing straightforward hominess, the modern church has largely abandoned the profound, mysterious depth of true holiness. I remember telling our architect that I wanted
all the technological goodies you'd find in a world-class performing arts center. Looking back, I realized that what I had asked for was lights, camera, action, rather than Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. This realization right here, it is the absolute emotional climax of Chase's journey. It perfectly and frankly tragically captures the shift from genuine spirituality to mere entertainment. It highlights exactly how the focus on spectacular production, the lighting, the sound, the staging, can completely override the foundational spiritual purpose of a community.
Chase learns some incredibly profound, nuanced distinctions as he continues his pilgrimage through these narrow Italian streets. He starts differentiating between a superficial beauty and true beauty with a capital B. He discovers the critical difference between just being passively peace-loving versus doing the hard, active work of peacemaking, realizing how passive love utterly fails in the face of historical atrocities like those in Rwanda. He learns the difference between casual community and true, deep communion. And finally, the realization that all art and architecture should ultimately point back to the grand architect, rather than just being admired for its own sake.
Section 4. The Lifelong Pilgrimage. Now, to apply these ancient remedies to our own modern, fast-paced, and often burnout-inducing lives, it's really crucial to know that this narrative is based on real-world insights. The author, Ian Morgan Cron, was an ordained Anglican priest and a former senior pastor of a megachurch in Greenwich, Connecticut. You might also know him as the author of The Road Back to You. This background lends just immense real-world credibility to the story. He intimately knows the exact lights, camera, action world he's analyzing, which makes the critique all the more potent. Chase journals this really stark warning. As long as Christians and the church continue colluding with the powers of consumerism and materialism, our witness is impeded. This highlights the absolute danger of deluding ourselves about our positive impact when our priorities are compromised by the very materialism and consumer-driven metrics we claim to rise above. Think about it. If the medium is the message, a consumerist medium completely distorts a spiritual message. When it's finally time for Chase to head home and face reality, a priest leaves him with a powerful parting admonishment. The pilgrimage is never over. It's a reminder that spiritual formation, recovering from burnout, and realigning our misplaced priorities isn't a final destination you just arrive at and check off a list. It is a constant, ongoing daily journey of intention and realignment. So I want to wrap up this explainer by asking you directly, what would a lifelong pilgrimage look like for you? If you stripped away the lights, camera, action of your own life and work, what truly remains? It's a provocative question meant to spark your own curiosity and self-reflection as you navigate your own journey, ensuring that your walk always matches your talk. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.